You can tell she's changed, but you pretend she hasn't. She's still there, but her gaze no longer shines, her kiss feels polite, and her touch has become a mechanical routine. The pain doesn't come from a clear goodbye. It comes from the emptiness disguised as daily life. And it's at this exact point that most men get lost. They try to win her back with words, promises, and gifts. But what she wants, or better, what she needs to feel, is something no forced gesture can deliver. Few will tell you this, but here it is. The problem isn't her distance. It's your emotional reaction to that distance. When you try too hard to fix it, all you show is that you've lost your balance. And counterintuitively, what wins a woman back isn't romance. It's the unpredictability of a man who knows how to disappear with presence, to go silent without anger, and return with posture. That man doesn't explain himself. He evolves. And that's when she starts to look again, and admire again. You don't need to fully understand the female mind to turn things around. But you do need to understand this. What she feels for you now is a direct result of how you've been showing up these past few days. Want to regain respect? It won't come from drama. It comes from emotional intelligence, invisible boundaries, and a surgical retreat. What you'll learn in this video is exactly what a Stoic man does when he realizes he's about to lose her. But pay close attention. Every detail here is a key piece. One wrong move, and you're handing her over to someone else. So if you truly want to flip this game, watch until the end. Because if you stop halfway, you might never get another shot to bring her back. First move, when the distance begins, and the first Stoic reaction that reconnects. She starts replying with short answers, changes her tone, avoids eye contact. You feel something's off, but try not to seem paranoid. But that growing distance? It's not in your head, it's the beginning of the emotional drift. And when a man insists on pretending everything's normal, he misses the most valuable window to stop her from walking away, the moment when she hasn't fully left yet. The problem is, most only react when it's already too late. The pain is quiet but deep. There's no betrayal, no fight, just the slow vanishing of affection. That's when many men make the fatal mistake, thinking that more love will solve it, that sweet messages, flowers, or deep talks will reignite what's already fading. But female psychology doesn't respond to emotional intensity. It responds to shifts in perception. If she senses you're trying to win back something that's lost its value, she pulls away harder. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Showing too much emotion during this stage can come off as desperation. Worse, it signals that you don't even understand why she began pulling away. The first step isn't to talk it out or send a heartfelt paragraph. It's to create contrast. If you feel you're being ignored, vanish for 2 days. Don't comment, like, or start any interaction. But don't do it with resentment. Do it with calm, inner clarity, and balance. I call this the minimal Stoic reaction. Change the rhythm without announcement. Lower contact, but not with coldness. Speak less, but with more presence. Pause more in your conversations. Listen more than you talk. This silent posture, paired with a sharp redirection of your focus, like hitting the gym, improving your work, or learning something new, triggers a subtle thought in her mind. What's changed in him? That break in predictability. That's where the silent reconquest begins. And we haven't even gotten to the next move. Second move, the illusion of control. When fixing it only makes it worse. When men notice her slipping away, they try to fix it like patching a leak, urgently, anxiously, with quick fixes. They send long texts, ask how she's feeling, or set up meetups just to talk. But this doesn't pull her back, it pushes her further. What he doesn't realize is that the more he tries to understand what's going on, the more he shows he's lost his center. And that's the first scent that kills any unconscious attraction. Emotional dependence masked as concern. It's a hard pill to swallow, but the more you try to prove your worth, the less worthy you appear. Value isn't proven, it's felt. When a man loses his internal control, he gets caught in a reaction loop where everything he does is based on her behavior. She pulls away, he chases. She goes cold, he overcompensates. And just like that, the power dynamic shifts. He reacts, she leads. Emotional connection fades, not with a bang, but with imbalance. Here's the counterintuitive truth. Doing less is often the most effective move. But it's not passivity, it's intelligence. What does a Stoic man do at this stage? He stops trying to fix it and starts repositioning himself. Instead of explaining, he sharpens his posture. He resets his routine, sets micro-boundaries, and reclaims what was neglected, his personal focus. That invisible line, where he shows he won't be someone's backup plan, without saying a word, is the beginning of the turnaround. The practical step here is clear. For 5 days, avoid any needy behavior or reconciliation attempts. Change the tempo. Be present but unavailable. If you do talk, keep it short, firm, and with zero justification. Say things like, "Everything's good here, just focused on some goals." That one simple line hits differently. Masculine presence with emotional detachment. And that absence? It starts to weigh more than your previous presence. And that's just the beginning. Third move, the silence that speaks louder, how absence becomes leverage. When she senses you've pulled back for real, not as a tactic but from conviction, something shifts in the atmosphere. Silence starts creating more tension than 1,000 spoken words. Absence makes room for reflection. And masculine absence, when well applied, reaches deeper than any romantic gesture. That's because strategic silence, when it comes from a man with self-mastery, says exactly what she needs to feel. He's not begging for me. Most men mess this up. They go silent with bitterness, with hurt, trying to punish her. That's not silence, it's resentment. And resentment reveals weakness. Real Stoic silence is neutral, firm, and busy. It's not a cry in disguise, it's a return to your center. And it's in this space that a man becomes magnetic again. Because nothing is more unsettling to a woman than realizing she no longer controls the emotions of a man who used to be predictable. And the most surprising part? She'll probably reach out first. Not with a grand apology, but with subtle questions. "You okay? Why'd you disappear? I kind of missed you." This isn't an open door back to the old dynamic, it's a test. A feminine test to see if your new posture is real or just a performance. If you cave too fast, you lose everything you've built. The Stoic reaction here is to stay calm. Don't respond with coldness, respond with stability. And here, a quick pause. If this type of content is opening your eyes to things that previously went unnoticed, leave your like now and subscribe to the channel, because this is just the beginning. Let's continue. Practically speaking, when she reaches out, answer lightly, directly, and with assertive communication. Something like, "That time was good for me. Needed to clear my head." That sentence has everything: balance, inner focus, and a soft edge. She senses you're no longer seeking validation. You're building your own world. And in that moment, the roles begin to shift. She sees you differently. And admiration? It starts to rebuild, if you know what comes next. Fourth move, the emotional reconnection, reigniting admiration without begging for attention. Now that she's come closer, the game shifts. But here's where most men crash. They try to make up for lost time in one big conversation. That suffocates her. Emotional reconnection has to be subtle, gentle, almost invisible. And the goal isn't to win her back. It's to show up as someone who evolved in silence. Nothing wins a woman over like seeing that you changed, not for her approval, but because your masculine energy aligned with your integrity. This is the time to show, through action, what words can no longer carry. And we're not talking about gifts or grand gestures. We're talking about behavior. About alpha behavior. The kind that leads calmly, listens intentionally, and doesn't explain itself to be accepted. A man who acts like this radiates something beyond charm. He radiates real perceived value. And value, despite what people say, isn't forced, it's lived. No need for long speeches. Just consistency with your new presence. If you were always available before, now schedule time with her calmly and without urgency. When you're with her, hold emotional leadership. Listen more than you speak. Touch her slowly, make eye contact, and avoid needy questions. If she says, "I missed you," don't rush to say, "I missed you too." Say, "I missed a lot of things, mostly the peace I found in that time." That hits differently. The key here is to act like you've already absorbed the lesson her distance came to teach you. You don't need to ask to get back together or talk about the relationship. When you're centered, with inner control and focused on your own evolution, you naturally reclaim the emotional space you once held. And the most interesting part, it's no longer about her. Your posture is self-sufficient now, but there's still one final test ahead. Fifth move, the final test, when she provokes to measure your stability. Even after reconnecting, she might test you. She may act colder, say something cutting, or suddenly show a bit of distance. That doesn't mean she's backing out, it's a test. An instinctive one, often unconscious, to see if your new posture is real or just temporary. And this is where unstable men panic. They start questioning, over-explaining, or asking things like, "Are you being weird again?" And just like that, all the progress evaporates like smoke. What she really wants is to feel that you hold your center even when challenged. That you don't crumble the moment something feels out of your control. Yes, women test, but not out of malice. They test because they want to trust. Trust that they're opening up emotionally to a man who stands on solid ground. A man with self-control. One who won't collapse under a harsh comment or a critical glance. That quiet strength rebuilds admiration more than any apology or romantic gesture ever could. This is where strategic detachment comes in. Not coldness, but composure under pressure. If she says something like, "You really have changed, you seem more distant," don't fall into the trap of explaining yourself. A calm response might be, "Lately I've been prioritizing myself more, and it's shifted a lot." That communicates two clear things. You're still growing, and the change isn't a performance, it's real. And in that groundedness, she feels emotional leadership, which ironically makes her feel safe, even when she challenges it. The practical move here is simple but requires awareness. Don't react instantly. Breathe. Give yourself a second before responding. A man who responds with emotional intelligence creates positive tension. And tension at this stage sustains the mystery. It's what makes her lean back in, curious about your next words, your next move, even your next silence. And this is where the most powerful moment of reconnection happens. Not through emotion, but through something rarer and deeper. The return of respect. Sixth move, the rebirth of the relationship, when respect rebuilds attraction. If you've made it this far, with calm, balance, and presence, something changes for good. She starts seeing you with new eyes. Not because you begged, but because your posture spoke louder. Unconscious attraction begins to resurface, not through direct seduction, but because you became unpredictable again, intriguing, and above all, aligned with who you truly are. Lost respect isn't regained through promises. It's rebuilt through consistent, quiet action. And here's a vital truth. Don't try to go back to how things were. That version of the relationship is over. And thank God. What you can build now is on a new level of awareness, but only if you don't fall back into old habits. After reconnection, many men slip, becoming overly available, losing purpose, giving affection without depth. That kills the process. From here on out, what should lead you is consistency. You're no longer in the emotional field, you're building a structure. The relationship renews when you keep evolving for yourself. Read, create, move your body, learn new things, not to impress her, but to keep from regressing. One simple strategy, set a non-negotiable block of time each day where she knows you're focused on you. Maybe it's an hour of reading, like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, training, or developing a personal project. This tells her that your life is bigger than the relationship, and that keeps your perceived value high. And at this point, she feels, maybe without even fully understanding, that she's beside a man who is more than just a partner. A man who leads emotionally, with consistency, presence, and clarity. The silent reconquest ends not with promises, but with posture. And the most curious thing? Once you become this man, you don't even need her validation anymore. Because you realize you lost her back then, only to finally find yourself now. Now that you know what a Stoic man does when he's on the verge of losing the woman he loves, the real question is, will you act on it, or fall back into chasing like before? Because knowing changes nothing. Action does. Will you keep sending long messages? Or will you reclaim your presence and move with strategy? Will you react like a lost boy, or respond like a man who's finally learned the invisible language of distance? Tell me this. Can you go 3 days in silence without explaining yourself? Can you hear a "I'm fine" and know that your steady gaze says more than any insistence ever could? Can you walk away without bitterness and return with posture? That's the real test of whether you're ready to lead instead of being led. The relationship doesn't end when she walks away. It ends when you stop leading emotionally. If this video resonated with you, I dare you to take action. Leave this phrase in the comments. This time I lead. I want to see who's truly ready to turn it around. Thank you, truly, for watching to the end. Your attention is something I deeply value. Just like your evolution. If this message made sense to you, I humbly ask, like the video, share it with a man who needs to hear this, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next step on this journey.